all so much for joining today's Gemini Chronicles. Really appreciate the time to have a wee look and listen to our Gemini journey. My name's Gabriella Barbara, and I'll be taking you through a little bit of a journey with mobility in the HR environment. As you may recall from the invite that we sent out to you, today's workforce in general isn't tied to a desk. So we're actually going to talk about how HR departments and employees can stay connected. I will be allowing for questions at the end of the session, so look forward to receiving your questions. I want to take you on a little bit of a journey, because if you think about the journey of our mobiles since the late 80s, we've come a very long way. Does anyone on the line remember the brick? And then how excited we were to get the little fold down Nokia when they were released? Wow, it's been such a journey in such a short time. When the smartphone first came on the scene, the novelty of emails and some basic social features were quickly on the uptake. We've come a long way. And how we're using those devices now in the best possible way in our work environment is still really, in some organisations, a little bit of a question mark, especially when we talk about HR. As we have an increasing number of millennials and Generation Zers in our workforce, we do need to find more ways of engaging with this mobility or this mobile technology, because that generation is very driven by mobility. So how can we use mobility in the HR lifecycle? How important is it really? A good question to have, and a nice challenge for HR companies and organisations to really adopt. I came across a really interesting news broadcast, and when you access this link following the presentation, you will be able to actually listen to this particular news broadcast. It was talking about the journey that we've had in the late 1980s from the 1G to the 5G now. If you did an overlay of when the HR solutions that are commonly used came to market over this generation of mobility, you would understand very quickly why mobility in HR is not so strong. And in a lot of ways, many of the solutions on the market today, which have been around for sort of 15, 20, even 30 years, might have some mobile capability. It has been very, very slowly uptaken. So if you think about those solutions that were developed in the days of 1G and 2G, they are actually very much still used in our environments by organisation. And even those that were developed in the days of the 3G. Remember the BlackBerry? And we're actually only talking 2007. And of course, more than mobile technology, as a workforce, we are more mobile than we ever have been before. Mobility and mobiles aside, we need to be continually looking at ways for engagement across our HR platforms to transfer data ownership more now than ever before, because people, employees, ourselves, we are used to managing our own data. It does go well beyond HR strategy too. Think of Teams, Skype, and other day-to-day operations that are now used with app-based technology in the workplace. The estimate is that we will most likely have 24% of Generation Z in our current workforce by the end of 2020, and by 2025, 75% will be millennials and Zers. So 36% of those Zers. That's a massive shift. And those generations are going to demand instant information, instant visibility, and instant access to information. Mobility use and adaptable solutions will be the expectation. And this generation uses mobile technology different to ever before, and they are used to having instant and good access. There's an incredible stat from the States, with 72% of our workforce being currently a mobile workforce. So if that follows in Australia and New Zealand, are our systems coping? Yes, it's not just systems, we know that. There's HR policy, trends, working environments which need to cater for the increasing mobile workforce and work from home on-trend occurrences as well. By 2021, it's predicted that 1.87 billion workers will make up the global mobile workforce. That's a staggering approximately 50%. So if you think of that, New Zealand and Australia, 2.6 million in New Zealand and 13.4 million in Australia, will our HR systems cope? Why do I ask that question? In 2019, now this figure may be slightly outdated, about 80% of HR departments were still using on-premise HR systems without the capability of being mobile. So that's actually a big figure, and unsurprisingly, we still come across businesses that will not allow access to employee data outside the brick and mortar called the office. Not keeping up with trends. So how do we? Staying connected is vitally important, and whilst the HR solution is not the single silver bullet, and clearly additional transformation needs to happen in some organisations, having a system that's flexible, available, software as a service, and enjoyable to use will go a long way there. Mobility of our HR systems is not about replicating feature for feature of a desktop to mobile environment for HR. Let's face it, the smaller real estate on a phone is not the place for our more complex HR processes. So let's talk Jemini. When we designed Jemini, we didn't just guess at what people genuinely needed. We took the time to spend with employees, managers, executives, and look at what people do and how they do it on the go, and what was a logical move to mobility. Easy, convenient, and useful. What do I mean? Would you do a full workflow, a full payroll workflow on a smartphone? Be quite interested to see the nodding or the shaking of the head. Think about the employee life cycle, those processes that make sense. Talking about going on holidays with mates, checking up how much leave you have while you're there, discussing the trip to Surfers Paradise or Rarotonga, checking out how much leave you have and booking some time off. Out on the road, you're feeling unwell, you log some sick leave and you head home. Are you worried that you've forgotten something around your KPI reviews? Request a task list. You'd not try to do an organisational restructure of a 1,000 employee business on a phone, or evaluate and change a complex 400 employee roster on a mobile phone. Sorry, thought I'd taken the screen transitions out. But those smaller workflow items and smaller on-the-go workflows you will need to do or may need to do. So Jemini will challenge the expectations about the types of functions that your employees can and will perform on their mobile devices, and possibly more importantly, how they will use their mobile devices. It's fair to say that voice to text to email is becoming more and more common, as is the AI journey. We might try to deny that. However, all that is changing quite rapidly. So we've challenged those expectations because mobility, as we know, it's not actually new. So when the browser area is smaller than 1440 by 865, but bigger than a mobile, we deliver the orange, the simplified Gemini. And then the mobile is the essential Gemini based on your role. So you may approve a payroll on your mobile. You may not do the payroll on your mobile. You may approve it. You can access employees, contract details, pay slips, pay summaries, perhaps KiwiSaver, Australian Super, all those kind of approval workflows for the evolution of your employees and potentially even components of an org chart. A great strategy. It's logical. So whether we're traveling for work, when travel becomes a thing again, or working from home, we've all had a pretty incredible experience of that right now, working from home. How did your HR systems cope? We understand that through the pandemic, around 77 to 80% of all workers worked remotely. And for many of us, we do that as the norm now. A coffee shop, between meetings, passing time, or going from one office to another, in an airport, or even on our way to a customer's in a taxi. Some questions to consider then. Is your platform accessible? And in most instances, your HR platforms to be accessible must be cloud delivered to deliver true value. Is your HR system designed in such a way that it provides engagement across your people in a manner that we expect engagement with systems to occur? So, to assist you with our ever-increasing mobile workforce and mobility needs, with Gemini, it's a combination of feature sets viable for mobile device, tablets, and of course the laptop that we take with us everywhere, and the ease of accessing our solution environments from wherever we may be. Have you heard the term the big reset? It's certainly something we're hearing a lot in the environment now, in the HR environment now, and the work environment. And we're being told that that will forever change relationships between employers and their people, how we work and how we interact. And that statement comes from Josh Burson, who's an HR strategist. So, does your HR system allow your employees to take charge and manage their working life with you? Own their own development, their data, their life cycle, and the development within your organisation. And not only that, of course, organisations being able to see their talent, their transferability across roles, and their engagement with your organisation. Mobility where it counts. Gemini has had a lot of thought in this area, and it's there for you. Finding a remuneration stat, entering or approving a timesheet, entering a leave request, those basic things, and logging in and simply checking your HR profile. This morning I was asked an incredibly basic, or what we see as a pretty standard question. Can I actually see my leave prediction? Can I see it in 3 or 4 months' time, what my leave balances will be? Those basic things which we're expecting nowadays can be delivered through a mobile experience. These screens here are remuneration, a timesheet, a leave, or putting in a health and safety component. More importantly, if you're a mobile worker, your laptop, your tablet also go wherever you are. They are the eyes to your employees, your results and your metrics, and they'll help you interact with your employees, know where they are, who they need to talk to, who you need to talk to with, and contact only if you have a mobile HR system, meaning a web-based environment that's easy to access. So Are you on age technology that does not have the agility that you're going to be needing into the future with your working generation and your organisation? Question that you might ask, what is age tech? Well, think of the mobile journey, think of where 3G was, and think of anything that had its origins prior to 2007. We'd love to share more around the Gemini journey with you and how it might be right for you. So do feel free to contact us. And now I'd actually like to open up for questions. So you will have a question panel on your go-to meeting menu. Do feel free to ask questions. And I'm going to take a few minutes to answer those questions. I hope you enjoyed our little piece on mobility and the mobile journey. And I do recommend you accessing this presentation afterwards and having a look at the news item that has the link within the presentation for you to review. It's pretty cool to actually hear a news presenter talk about that mobile journey. I do have a question here. A question has come through about what are the top 3 users, in your opinion, for mobile technology or app. Our experience, I think, would lead that to being leave approvals, timesheets, and some of the components of recruitment workflows. Thank you for asking the question. Another question here. How easy is it to use, and what is your approach to making the uptake successful? Another really good question. One of the core aims of Gemini was to ensure that it was intuitive and simple. So think about how easy it is to download an app and use that app. Generally, you do not need to look at an instruction manual or a user guide. And Gemini and the app features, the mobility features, are all user-led design. So it's user first and then development versus most HR systems, which are development-led. Thank you for the question. Another good question. Another question, will new employees be able to enter details on the mobile through the onboarding process? Absolutely, where it's appropriate. You may not actually sign a contract within the mobile environment. What you may do, though, of course, is put in your personal details, your tax details, and those profile type details. You might download a PDF, of course. And another question here, is it device agnostic? Yeah, absolutely. So Apple, Android, etc., in terms of the mobility features. Okay, look, do take time to have a read of this blog, Why It's Bye-Bye Fat Apps, Hello Skinny. This presentation was loosely based on that blog, so there's some really good information in that particular blog. We're certainly very happy to talk to you more, so if you would like to contact anyone within Fusion 5, your account manager, or myself, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions around the fuller Gemini journey. Thank you so much for attending and look forward to seeing you at the next session. Take care, have a good week. Bye now.